Hello, my health class. Happy April Fool's Day. How about that? All right. So as my hair keeps on getting longer and longer, and we can't get to salons and barber shops and everything, I'm kind of constantly wearing a hat. But anyway, as my hair keeps on getting longer, these videos are going to constantly get a little bit shorter and shorter. All right. So today we're going to continue talking about mental illness, and I hope the main thing that we understood from the previous videos is not all mental illness means that somebody is crazy. Doesn't mean that they are a detriment to our society. Doesn't mean that they are harmful. I mean, when we're talking about Parkinson's, that's typically affects older people, and you don't see somebody that's shaken is going to be hurtful to somebody else. So let's please keep that in mind when we talk about mental illness. They're not all dangerous. Today we're going to talk about two, and I'm going to be real fast, and we're going to talk about Alzheimer's and anxiety. So let's first get to Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's, who does it affect? Older people. Well, how old? Here's our stats on this. If you have a parent or grandparent under the age of 65, not very likely for them to have Alzheimer's, only about 10%. But then there's a huge increase in terms of Alzheimer's patients when you reach 80 and higher. So we go about 50% of people over the age of 80 to 85, depending on the study that you're looking at, has Alzheimer's. And it's a progressive disease. It's only going to get worse over time. So somebody might start off with minor signs of Alzheimer's, but then it gets to a major thing. And typically, short-term memory will go first, and then long-term memory. Give you an example. So my grandfather, he is now deceased, but prior to him dying, he had a hard time remembering basic things that happened that day, whatever he ate for breakfast, or did he water the flowers, or did he make a phone call to call the doctors to set up an appointment. But he could recall every single detail back to his World War II days and how he went ahead and fought all the way back then. So please keep in mind, short-term usually goes first. So let's explain why and what happens here with Alzheimer's. So quick sketch here. All right, so here we go. There's a neuron, okay? And we're gonna have, let's come out here with some axons, axon, okay? Like so. All right, so we also have things called like dendrites, right? These. All right, so here we go. Why Alzheimer's happens. We're not positive on everything about Alzheimer's, but these are the things that we certainly do know about it. As we get older, things shrink, okay? You see somebody that might be 6 foot tall, and then by the time they're in their 80s, they might be down to 5'10", 5'9", okay? Whether it be the curvature of the spine or whatever. Well, we have a couple things here. Well, we have parts of the brain that shrink. So you might actually have these axons and synapses shortening up a little bit. Dendrites shorten up a little bit. So it'd be like if you're trying to jump a creek bed and you're okay with jumping from one part of the land over to the other part of the land and avoiding the creek because there's not very much water in it, okay? But if the water happens to fill up, the creek happens to fill up with a ton of water, and now it's a much wider creek, and now you have to jump a farther distance, it's much harder of a leap. Well, it's the same thing that would hold true with our thoughts. If I'm having a thought that's going down this axon, and yet there's a larger gap between the synapse, okay, sometimes that message is not going to be conveyed. So oftentimes somebody with Alzheimer's, they might remember something one time, but then they don't the next. And within a year, they might not remember that at all. All right, so that's one thing that goes on with Alzheimer's, okay? Yeah, the brain does shrink. But the second thing is something we call plaque, all right? We all have plaque, and this is amyloid plaque. So we all have plaque on our teeth, right? And normally a toothbrush would hopefully get that off. But occasionally we got to go into the dentist, whether it be every 6 months or every year, and we got to get that plaque cleaned off, because as plaque can build up on our teeth, well, this is a different type of plaque But you'll get the point of this. We get plaque on these ends of these dendrites. Well, that is going to block some of the messages that need to be conveyed and be transmitted from one neuron cross access to another one. Unfortunately, we can't go open up our brain and take a metal pick like they would in a dentist's office and just scrape this plaque off. Can't happen. So oftentimes, more and more plaque builds up. We get more and more of our problem with Alzheimer's. All right, so that's a quick nutshell about that. There is a great video that really documents what a older person is going through. That is going to be on your NTI, in your NTI folder, or at the my Google Classroom, or maybe even a comment section on this YouTube video. Second one I want to get to is anxiety. 3 types of anxieties that we're going to discuss: general anxiety, phobias, panic attacks. Okay, start with the first one, general anxiety. Everybody feels anxious moments, but doesn't mean that we suffer from anxiety. Right now, our teachers here at Dixie, and perhaps you guys working from home, feel a lot of anxiety. This is new. We have to do a lot of different things that we're not normally used to doing in terms of teaching and learning. So we feel a little bit overwhelmed right now. We all probably do. So we all have a little bit of anxiety, but doesn't mean that we're suffering from it. Okay? We don't have that chronic problem where we're suffering for a long period of time, like we talked about chronic stress. Okay? We'll get over this. We'll be all right. Second one, phobias. Phobia is, here's the key word, irrational. It doesn't make sense. It's irrational. Give you an example. So if I was afraid of sharks, okay, and I might not even walk onto the beach because I'm afraid of sharks. It's a little bit irrational, okay? I know a shark cannot jump out of the water, walk on its 2 legs, and come and get me. All right, so, but if I had a true fear, true phobia of sharks, I might not even walk on the beach. Heck, I might not even take a vacation to Myrtle Beach, okay, because of a phobia. Okay, it's normal to have fears, whether we're watching a movie and like Jaws, and now we have a fear of sharks. Sure, I might not feel real comfortable swimming out in the middle of the ocean, but I know I'm safe, in 1, 2, 3 feet of water where sharks don't normally go. All right, so make sure we understand the difference between something that's completely irrational and just a normal fear. It's normal fear to have fear of heights, of falling, but am I getting to the point where it debilitates everything I do? Okay, there's a huge difference. Okay, third one, panic attacks. All right, panic attack. We don't know. We don't know the reason, but I could be sitting here on this couch here in my basement as I'm filming it from you. This is my basement, by the way, and do I have such a strong fear that I have to get out of this situation? I don't know what's taken over me. I can't breathe. My heart is racing so much, I just know I need to get out. But quite frankly, there's no fear right now for me. That would be a panic attack, something that just comes upon you on a moment's notice, and there's really no explanation why it comes about. Okay? So I'm trying to keep videos short. That's Alzheimer's, that's anxiety, and hope you guys are having a great day, and happy April Fool's Day. Make sure you play a innocent prank on one of your family members. Don't do anything stupid in terms of coronavirus and being out and being reckless. Love you guys. Take care. See you next time.